Hello, hello, hello. It is I, Kathleen. How you guys doing this Sunday? How's everybody doing? Hello, hello, hello. Hi guys. How is everybody doing this Sunday? It's like what we're going to be talking about today is, does black on black violence equal white wealth? This is Kathleen Harry, your conscious coach. Thanks for joining me. I am live on Periscope, three different Facebook pages, Instagram, and Clubhouse. This is Building Black Families, by the way. This is the Conscious Hour with Kathleen for my streaming platform. We also stream live on YouTube. So you kind of can catch me everywhere. So welcome to the show today. We're going to get into it. Again, I'm Kathleen, your conscious coach. What does it mean to be conscious? It means to literally have the ability to think with your conscious mind, not from a subconscious place, because we live from a subconscious place. So you have to develop your conscious mind so you are consciously aware of the decisions that you are making. For subject's sake today, though, we're going to be talking about tell you who I am. I'm the art collection. For those who don't know, this is your first time I'm here. Author, speaker, and I am a writer, of course. So let's jump into this. Gonna get the music turned down, turned off. So hi guys, how's everyone doing? So in talking about this, I'm gonna kind of take step by step, right? White privilege and wealth depends on black violence. I think this is something that we need to understand. Just recently, we had another violent death of a young woman, 15, 16 years old. And I'm not even going to talk about that because it's too triggering for me. It's too much for me. So I'm not even going to talk about that. But I am going to talk about the backside of that. I am going to talk about violence, black on black violence. We do know that violence happens in every race, right? There's not a race where people don't fight. Like, that's just not reality. For us, though, it's different because of right? Right? In terms of what we're as a race. Chat is open way. If you want to chat, whatever you type in the chat will show up here. If you're on Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, Live, whatever you type in the chat, I'll be able to see on the stream over here. I also want to offer you an opportunity to call in, have something you would like to add to the conversation. Just keep in mind we're live on our platform, so your voice will be heard. It's 314-472-8127. Okay, so let's get into this conversation. White privilege and wealth depends on black violence. How can we stop participating in systemic racism? So that's kind of what we're going to cover in this hour. Time now is 3:27. I think we've been on here already for about 3 minutes. So let's take a look at this. What is violence? First, we need to understand what violence is, because I don't think a lot of us even understand what violence is. We think violence is, oh, you stabbed me, you shot me, you beat me with a baseball bat, you threw me down some stairs. That's violence, that's abuse. But violence is also arguing. And I know we said, well, there's nothing violent about arguing. Everybody argues. It is violent, excuse me, if that is the household or the environment in which children live. It is violent if that's the environment or the conditions in which you live. Arguing, fighting, coming to blows with words, if you will, verbal violence. is violence. Cussing. I put in the edit in the heading, cussing your children out. We have this thing that we see on the internet that is passed around in the black community, and it has these letters, right? And it would be like, let's see what I put over here in the setup for this show. So it would look like, let's see if I can pull this up right here. You've seen those letters where it's like, get your black so and so in this MFN. And, and if you're black, you're supposed to be able to figure out what all of those letters mean, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Violence with words. And then you have fighting, right? So sisters and brothers fight. You're gonna have some civil rivalry, right? You're gonna run into bullies, you're gonna run into these situations, but I'm talking about your home environment. Is it true that in your home your children fight one another, come to physical blows, and you just sit back and let it happen? That's violence. Okay, that's an action or behavior that's going to move outside of your house at some point. And we know a lot of us teach our children, hey, if somebody hits you, you hit them back. um, that could even be escalating the violence. So, in my opinion, violence is the cursing out, the strong words, the arguing, the cussing, the physical fighting, and certainly if you pull out a knife, a bat, a stick, anything that you can use to hit somebody with or to hurt or harm somebody, that's violence. Now, I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me. They're going to say, hey, that's just the way we are. That's just the way we're raised. But I'm going to push back and continue to say all of that is violence. So I got a couple of notes here. So I'm going to follow my notes so I can kind of move through this the way I need to. Why do we commit violence? When you look at how Black people, and I know it's not just Black people, but Black people are who I'm talking about right now. When you look at how Black people cuss their children out, I mean, I literally hear it and see it all the time. I literally hear and see Black mothers actually refer to their children as MFs, Bs, Os, sons of. I mean, I literally hear this out of Black parents, Black adults' mouths, right? That's violence. I know we don't see it as violent, but trust me, that is violence. Those words are hard to hear. I'm an adult, and I was on the Clubhouse app the other day. A grown man, and I'm an adult, cussed me out. I'm talking about he cussed me out, used very strong language, called me the B word, said F you to me. I mean, I'm not like a person that's gonna get triggered by that or hurt my feelings. Like I don't know this dude, so obviously he had a problem. But words like that are damaging, and it don't make you feel good, right? Like I don't like anybody talking to me like that, so I don't deal with people who speak that type of language because I know it kind of makes me think you got a mental problem because it's foreign to me, right? When your children are used to you cussing them out and using that type of strong language, and if you're okay with that and you're okay with identifying your children in that way, you're already into violence. Those words are very volatile. They are going to uh, they're not stimulating. They're not spoken in excellence, right? So when we're talking about violence, we describe what violence is. Now we're talking about why we commit violence. And it's really mental conditioning rooted in white supremacy. And I know everybody, first thing everybody say is, everybody want to blame the white folks. Everybody want to turn and say it's systemic racism. I don't understand why we can't accept the fact that that's what it is. I'm not saying we can't change it. I'm saying it's okay to say that is the root. That's where it came from. Okay. from my understanding, there are not even any cuss words in African dialect, in African language. There is no MF in Africa. If we want to just keep it culturally, you know, tie it a correlation to where we come from, our culture, and all of that. There are no cuss words in the African language. There is no sons of. There are no B's. There are no O's. There are no get your mother. There's none of that in the African language or dialect, right? And so where does this language come from? And we're wrapping it. I'm going to come to a wrap up when it comes to black on black violence. If you can degrade your children, if you can defame your children, right? Your own seed, your own blood, your own people, right? If you can speak to them in this manner, if you can break them down verbally, if you can bring them down and condition them, break their confidence level, that's violence. Remember when black people were slaves, the job of the slave owner was to break them. That was through language, that was through behaviors, that was through um, abuse, that was through violence. So they learned how to talk about black people, how to put black people down, how to make black people feel like they couldn't rise above a certain level. And they did that so that they could break your confidence, so that you didn't even feel like, you didn't even have the mental capacity to believe that you deserve to escape slavery. And some of our children are like that right now. We put them down so much. We talk about them so poorly that they don't even believe they deserve to make good grades in school. They don't even believe they deserve to go to college. They don't even believe they deserve to have a good partner in life and be in a healthy relationship that's not toxic. They don't even believe that they can do without drugs and alcohol. They don't even believe that they can make it past 16 or 13 at this point and not have a sexual relationship or encounter. So when you talk about violence, you have to understand all of these things are violence against our children. Not only that, but poverty in itself is violence against our children. So when we talk about why do we commit violence, even having a child without the benefit of two parents is violence. And I just want us to come to an understanding. I'm not condemning us, I'm not putting us down, but we're in a space right now where if we don't begin to understand what systemic racism is, there is no way we can do the interpersonal work and eradicate it from our own families. And that's where we are right now. So if we don't understand where, or how systemic violence is rooted in our community and in our families, how can we then again eradicate it? How can we get rid of it if we don't even have the right mindset? The first thing people want to say is we got to hold black people accountable. The parents should be held accountable for the fight. I understand. We want that. But first, can we even be real about it and say that we understand the conditions from where this comes from so that we can dismantle it? And then we can begin to lead our own community. So it's based in mental conditioning rooted in white supremacy. And we're still moving towards the mark of how this benefits white supremacy, how this benefits white privilege, how this benefits and generates wealth for white individuals. First of all, they have no competition. I'm moving ahead. Let me stay where I'm at. Understanding the root and conditioning, the long-term effects of systemic racism and how to break the machine. See, this is the part we don't get yet. When we're talking about police brutality, right? When we're talking about our people fighting in the streets, gun violence, when we're talking about all of those things, what you're really talking about are the long-term effects of systemic racism. You're really talking about a machine that is made to generate wealth for white people. It's made to generate wealth for them and lower the expectation or possibility for wealth for us. Okay, so when you look at your textbooks from kindergarten, from preschool, all the way through your college degree, when you look at your textbooks, is there anywhere in your textbooks where blacks are uplifted? Is there anywhere in your textbook books where it is explained how black people are geniuses, engineers, architects, uh, what do I want to say? Anywhere does it mention how we are people who are in the STEM environment, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. Are black people on a basic level in any textbook that you've ever read, sociology, psychology, math, science, in any book that you've ever read in school, besides Martin Luther King, who all they say is he was a non-violent person. Besides that, and mentioning some other people like I don't even want to get into names, the civil rights leaders, in which they mention them not in a way to say, hey, look, white people were so violent against black people, they had to try to organize so that they could come from under systemic racism and oppression. They don't frame it, they're not framing it that way. They're framing it and they're saying the major message is black people were slaves. And when they frame it that way, it's pretty much saying black people are stupid. And I think that some black people believe that they were stupid. And therefore, it makes it hard for them to hold white people accountable for our experiences now under systemic oppression in the long-term effects of systemic oppression. So we believe, oh, we can come from under this. We can change overnight. We shouldn't be acting like this. None of our people should be behaving like this. Oh, that fight, they out there fighting, acting all ghetto. I'm embarrassed. But you don't realize we are coming out of systemic racism, which is a well-oiled, well-built machine. And just as the police department was built to kill and capture black people, systemic racism in America is built to capture, trap black people, and to recycle the trauma, right? Police killing us is recycling the trauma. They keep it going, keep it going. Us being poor, not having the same level of education, all these things, having children without the luxury of two parents, all of those things fall under systemic racism. And this is what we need to understand so we can start our exodus, right? So we can start to come out of these situations. But we have to end this. And it is totally okay for you to say that the behavior that we see that we don't like, that's not beneficial to us, is not on us. It is a part of the long-term effects of systemic racism. It is a part of the fact that people treated us as less, named us as less, and in every textbook we read even today, we are still considered less. That is conditioning people mentally not to believe in themselves, not to have drives, not to even seek resources that can help them out. And then the ones who do get out, the ones who are educated, the ones who do go on and live a pretty decent life, they don't have the capacity to come back and educate others. And so what happens is, instead of educating others that they are under systemic racism, they try to educate us out and focus on our behaviors. Well, focusing on behaviors is something you do after the behavior has already happened, which means the person is already under the influence or the mental conditioning. But there's never been any real measure to prevent, right, what we see every day. So talk about where we are and what we see. and how we can come from under systemic racism. I'm going to take us there. I think I'm going to try to share a screen here. Let me see if this is the right one. See if this is right here. Yeah, this one. See if I can get this up here. Go back over here. I'm gonna make this a full screen. Okay. And I'm gonna remove chat so you guys can see this. All right. So let me see if I need to change my what's the name. All right, we can start right here. So right here, this is actually a graph. This graph actually shows what they expect in terms of our health care. This was created in 2017. And it's basically a map. Now you could go look at this, right? Health and healthcare for blacks in the United States. This is so small, I can barely see it. Let me see if I can. There we go. All right. So if you look at this, what it's basically talking about is how we're basically going to be a group of unhealthy people because we are in poverty, because we cannot afford basic medical insurance, and because we cannot have access to good foods, right? So, what is this talking about? The condition in which people have been expected to live for decades, for centuries, ever since slavery, because we have not have had access to higher education, because our textbooks begin by telling us we are slaves, because we are not uplifted, because all they do is create programs that come into our lives after we've already been indoctrinated to be less, feel less, and to participate in life as less, because our parents were not able to get promoted on the job, right? Think about that. Think about how many black people are educated who should be CEOs, who should be making 100,000 or more a year, who could have their own businesses where they're making $1 million a year or can be millionaires, who could have purchased their own first home and moved out of a low income area. You're talking about all of these things that black people could do, but systemic racism has held us back. Systemic racism is standing on our necks. So it's not just, oh, look at these poor people over here fighting. Oh, look at these black people in the inner city with all the gun violence, black on black crime. Factor in systemic racism. Factor in the conditioning. Factor all of it in. Don't even tell the story unless you put systemic racism in the beginning of whatever you're about to say to whoever you're about to say it to. So they're projecting our poverty based on our condition. Our condition is based on systemic racism. Next, we have, and I'm just going through some so we can get an idea and a real picture of where we are and how we can make our exodus, right? How we can come out of from under oppression and systemic racism. I'm on Instagram Live, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Periscope, and what else am I on live? I'm on 3 Facebook pages: Periscope, YouTube, Instagram. So if you want to, and I'm on Clubhouse Live. So if you want to tap in, do that. What's this right here? Hold on a second. Let me see what this is. Oh, I gotta open it. How do I do that? I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me see. Oh my goodness. I didn't even have my room open on Clubhouse. I'm new to this. So, because people normally come in my room, I'm like, nobody's in the room yet? What's going on? Okay. So, to continue the conversation, and let's take a look. So, next, what you're looking at is single parent status, percentage of births to unwed mothers. I'm going to start at the bottom, okay? Because this number right here at the top, and these are all screenshots, 72.5%, that hasn't changed, guys, over the last 40, 50, 60 years, which is when our numbers start going up. So take a look. It says right here, 29% white, 40.8% all races, 53% Hispanic, and then you have 72%, 72.5% black. So you say, how does black people having children out of wedlock, what they got to do with white people? What they got to do with systemic racism? Well, you know by now. Conditioning. You know who has sex early and who are sexually violated? Black people, poor people. You know who are introduced to sex and sexual experiences early? Poor people, black people, inner city youth, right? I'm an advocate against sexual violence, right? TBB Contact 3 on Instagram, Facebook, and all of that. You know who's more likely to be sexually abused? Parent households. So here you have 72% of us coming from single parent households, more than likely to experience sexual violence, more than likely to have early sexual experiences, right? More than likely to uh, be in poverty, look for attention, have a desire to connect with someone because we have these fatherless homes or these one parent homes. So it is a part of systemic racism, very much a part of systemic racism. And it's a part of that well-oiled machine we call systemic racism. How do we break free from this system? We've got to understand how this machine works. We've got to understand what's at the root. Stop fighting against the behaviors and start fighting at the root. So what does that look like? Learning new sexual behaviors, learning how to protect your children from early sexual influence. Keeping it real, y'all. That includes rap. That includes these lyrics that suggest that your children that promotes sexual acts. We have songs now that our children are listening to that directly tell them to have oral sex, anal sex, sex with multiple people. They're too young for that. That's part of the internal work that we can start saying. We can start saying we don't want our children subject to music trauma. We can start saying we don't want our children subject to prostitution music. We can start saying, hey, look, I'm going to put something in place so that my children are protected against sexual violence in the introduction to sexuality at an early age. But understand, you are under the conditions of systemic racism. Don't avoid that. Put that at the front of the conversation. Make it your reason why you are determined to break this cycle in your family. Why are we so afraid? What are you afraid of? This is what's up. This is where it's at. This is where we should start. So the next thing is, and I could put the projections up here for prison, which I normally share. This is again single parent households. You got white 15%. Now this is another study. One is mother only. You see black, for black people 49%. Mother only households. 4% is the black father, right? Look at how we outnumber every race. If we want to do internal work to help break the effects of systemic racism, this is where we have to start at. We have to start birthing children into two-parent homes. And if we already have children, this is where we break the cycle off of their mentality that it's okay to have children without two parents. Aha. You're getting it now. This is how we come from under systemic racism, the long-term effects of it. All right. So this is the same thing about statistics. Nearly half Black children live in solo mom homes. And here's something I want to point out. This is why I have this up. We have to, let me tell you something. Let me stop sharing my screen for just a second. We take away from thinking that programs were created to help us. My God. That's why heavily is Hosea 4 and 6. It says, my people perish. Part of the scripture is, my people perish for lack of knowledge. There's not an even exchange of correct knowledge. You have knowledge, but that knowledge not be beneficial to you if it's not applied correctly and not understood correctly. So if you say, oh, Black people need to stop saying that white people or a white man or systemic racism is the reason why they are failing or having these struggles, then you have the correct information, but you're certainly not applying it correctly. Because systemic racism is a real thing and it has long-term effects. And breaking that machine should involve you. Take my tone, I don't want to seem like I'm yelling at you. Breaking that machine should sound like understanding systemic racism and showing your people how to exit out of that. Don't say it's not real. Don't say it's not the reason why our people are not out there in the street, the reason why our people are out there in the street fighting one another. Don't say it's not the reason that our people are shooting one another. Don't say it's not the reason why our people are on Section 8 and food stamps and receiving government assistance. Do not say it, because that is not the truth. And so part of systemic racism is teaching us and training us to depend on government programs. Government programs don't work. Now, the one that does work is FAFSA. I mean, if you're coming from an impoverished community or family and you're trying to break that generational cycle, education is certainly going to be of a benefit. You need FAFSA because you can't afford tuition. That makes sense. So when we're talking about exiting it, don't deny systemic racism. Don't deny that systemic racism has caused us to be in conditions where we are not able to pull ourselves out by our bootstraps. And we hear a lot of people say that. I made it out. I know a lot of people that made it out. I know a lot of Black people that made it out. I heard a person say the other day when we were in a room, said, well, I knew I didn't want to be in poverty. Okay, she had 3 kids. She had a baby daddy or 2, whatever the case. So I guess she didn't recognize that was poverty in itself. But anyway, moving right along, she was like, so what I decided to do was go to school, get me an education, get me a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. I own a home. You do. Okay, ma'am, that's okay. I look, that is wonderful. But have to understand that there are people who look like you, who don't have the tools, who don't have the mentality, who don't have access, who don't know how to tap into resources. And it is because of systemic racism. You cannot deny them that. Just because you made it out. It has nothing to do with an entire race of people who suffer under systemic racism. So you cannot approach them like that. You cannot approach them and say, hey, this is on you. This is on you. Because guess what? In their community and what they have access to, they may not have that. You can give that to them. You can show them how you made it out. You can give them the tools. You can give them the resources. You can do like I did and talk to parents about how to complete a FAFSA application so their children can go to college. You can have conversations with parents and children who feel intimidated by college, And really, they just don't even know what it means to go to college. They don't even know that they can go, believe it or not. And you can have conversations with them like that. But don't leave out the systemic racism part, because that's harm. That's harmful to us as a race. So that's what's my next thing I want to talk about. And I hope you guys are following this. Three things we are. So let's talk about who we are. Since we can be real about being under systemic racism and oppression and all of that, hopefully you got it by now. So, three things we are: intelligent. We are intelligent people, but we are absent of guidance. A lot of people don't understand what that means. And so, for them, they think that the after school programs are the solution. They think as long as which they are in a lot of ways, they are in a lot of ways. So, but why do we still listen? Question: why do we still need after school programs to save our children? I'm asking us as a people. I'm not saying get rid of the programs. I'm asking a question, because if these programs were meant to send us down a new trajectory, if they was meant to put us on a good pathway to life, why do we still need them? I just want us to think about that. I'm not saying take the programs out of the school. I'm not saying we don't need them. But what I'm saying is, usually when a program is introduced, you see less and less crime, less and less violence, and you see less and less people needing that program, because you figure out, hey, we got X number of people who need this program every year coming from this demographic. What can we do to stop them from even entering into the program? So then you start working on preventative measures, and you keep taking that a step ahead, a step ahead, a step ahead, until hopefully you no longer need the program. So I want to suggest, I just put that out there so we can start looking at it, because a lot of us, um, if you understand all the other things I talk about, making sure you're birthing a child into a two-parent home, making sure you understand systemic racism, making sure you understand the long-term effects and conditioning of systemic racism, then we can break how racism affects us in our day-to-day lives. So let's look at this. Bottom line is, the three things I want to talk to us about. We are intelligent people, but we lack guidance. Guidance comes when you have a two-parent home, right? That's just the truth. Guidance comes when you have mentors. Guidance also comes when you have a structured religion or church. Guidance comes from your community, right? People who are not saying it's okay for you to be subject to music trauma. People who have a plan who help you develop a plan for your life. And that plan begins at your birth, even before you're born. So I mentioned earlier, I'm the author of the Conscious Book Collection. When you have a tool like my book, the Legacy Workbook, that promotes family, that promotes family engagement, that promotes being responsible and valuing the family, that promotes giving your family value, worth, confidence, right? Those are the types of tools we need, because we're intelligent, but some of us, and as a race, we're absent of guidance. I'm going to add this in there too. STEM is important. Being in STEM programs, everybody was excited about the $1,400 checks, but we don't choose careers where we can earn $1,400 a week. So introduce your children to STEM programs. Introduce them to science, technology, engineering, and math. This is what I'm talking about, the effects of systemic racism. We can't all go to school to be social workers, making $24,000 to $40,000 a year, and maybe 55, depending on what your degree is in. You're going to spend countless hours in social services, which is okay, but it's not okay if the majority of us are going to school to be teachers and social workers to help our community. We need more people earning high dollars that can actually pour into our community. Got enough social workers. We got too many social issues. So we have intelligence, but we are of guidance. And there's three things we are. We are problem solvers, but we're trying to solve the wrong problems. Listen, you're trying to figure out how your child can go to college, right? Because she has a baby and she really needs to go to college now, or she's going to end up struggling for the rest of her life. You're trying to figure out, how can I give my son a condom and pray to God he don't get a girl pregnant? You're trying to figure out, how am I going to pay all of these bills, and what am I going to drink tonight? Because what kind of weed am I going to smoke tonight? Like, what's going to help me cope with all these problems I have? You're trying to solve the wrong problems. If your problem is finances, your solution is going to be education and finding a career path where you can earn more money. It's that simple. And then your concern would be, well, where am I going to work at? Where am I going to find a job in this field? But if you're just working on, hey, what can I drink? Who can I complain to? What da, 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 da. You need to focus on the real problem. I need to earn more money. Instead of focusing on and worrying about, is my son or daughter going to have a baby early? Are they going to have a kid while they're in high school or while they're in college? You need to focus on, why are your children, why are our children, our grandchildren, why are they even having sex? They're not ready for the consequences of sex. They're not ready for the STDs. They're not ready for the baby. They're not ready to pay any bills. So instead of focusing on what we're going to do if and when, why aren't we focused on prevention? And I know, look, I get the attitudes all day long. I get the attitudes. Who are you to judge? Who are you to say, kids make mistakes? I want you guys can say all of that, but can you answer why you're not in the business of prevention? And I'm telling you why. We've been conditioned to expect less. So we'll have a baby shower, but we won't try to push our children to propose and get married and have children the right way. But we will have a big baby shower, but we will not have a big prevent early childhood sexual activity and single parent status party. We will have a singles parent ministry. We won't have a ministry to promote family. I'm preaching right now. I'm just telling y'all facts. And we have this mentality because it is of systemic racism. So we've got to learn how to be problem solvers and stop. Look, I saw this the other day, and if somebody sees this, they're going to know, but this is not just from that person. I see this all the time. We're moving into a place where we speak their language, right? So we say to ourselves, and if you like this t-shirt, I'm going to post it on my website. We were never slaves. We were enslaved. So listen, we say, and I'm going to say this directly to the Black men. So you'll say, hey, I'm going through a lot. Black women as well. Black college students as well. Black everything. We'll say this. I'm going through a lot. I'm exhausted. Nobody understand what I'm going through, and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, this. And I'm depressed. A lot of us have picked up on depression. Our numbers are up in suicide. Listen to me when I say this. It is important that you begin to have a conscious mind. It is important that you grow up. You understand? As African American people, we've got to grow up. You cannot cope your way through life. You cannot depend on drugs and alcohol and sex to get you through life. You've got to grow up. You've got to break this conditioning off of your mind. You have got to. Because your children are dependent on you. Guess what? You're the inheritance. You're what they're going to inherit. They're going to inherit how you deal and how you master and how you manage problems. So you can be a problem. We can be solvers solving all the wrong problems with all the, and of course, if you're solving all the wrong problems, well, you're solving them with all the wrong answers. So think about that. If you're going to just sit back and be an adult and say, I'm depressed every day. I am fighting demons every day. I can barely wake up in the morning. Sometimes I want to stay in bed all day and I don't want to get out. And I understand mental health. I get that. I understand depression is real. I get that. But daily depression, if you are suffering from daily depression, you need to go get some help. And I'm going to tell you something else. Don't be scared to go get help. Go get you a therapist. I wish to God I can afford a therapist 24 hours a day. I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, look, ooh, I'm stuck here mentally. I need some help. I'm packing this. I need some help. So we got to do that and stop the over religious practice. I'm saying that with a grain of salt because God has truly helped me and taught me a lot of things, all things, as a matter of fact. I don't care if I went to school. Jesus still allowed me to and graced my brain to be able to comprehend information. But what I'm saying is we out here living foul and toxic and still claiming God and Jesus. There's something wrong with that. You abusive, you withdrawn from your wife, you're abusive, you don't know how to practice good leadership skills, yet you claiming high Jesus. So we've got to fix this. We have got to fix this. We've got to learn to master our lives. If you know you came from you can have abandonment issues, you know you came from an abusive home, a single parent home, all of these things, you need to be coached or therapied out of that. Therapied. Therapy. What kind of word is that? Therapy. You need to understand all the little nuances that have attached themselves to your life, your thinking, your mental conditioning, so that you are not solving the wrong problems because your children are depending on you. And if you have an issue, if you have a drinking problem, if you have a problem where you cannot connect with your spouse and with your children because you can't even hug them, you can't kiss them, you can't speak words of affirmation. If those are your issues, what type of damage are you doing to your seed? So we gotta think on these things. And my favorite scripture in the Bible is Philippians 4 and 8. They have any virtue, they have any praise, think on these things. That's a whole nother story, but read it. That's enough on that. Things we are. This is the third thing. We are capable. We are capable, but not if we don't have the proper tools. Having a conversation with your homeboy who agrees with you is not a pull. Having a conversation with your girlfriend who agree with you and understand you because you're talking to them about something that's relatable because they've been through it too is not a proper tool. What are proper tools? What do proper tools look like? Everybody should have a norm when it comes to relationships. Normal should be I treat you the same way I expect you to treat me. That's normal. I asked a married couple that was married for years. I'm talking 73 years, 59 years, all the years they were married. You know what they learned to stay together? First of all, value marriage. How do you value marriage? Treat the other person the exact same way you want to be treated. It's that simple, I swear to God. You know if you don't want to be broke, you got to get a job. You know if you want to live in a certain house, you have to earn a certain wage. You know if you don't want anybody cussing you out, you know you don't cuss anybody else out. You know if you want something to eat, food got to be prepared, purchased or something. It boils down to treating the other person the way you want to be treated so they can have the same enjoyment and expectation out of life. So what kind of tools do you need? If you came from a toxic environment, toxic parents, abandonment, you were in a foster home, you were financially strapped, you struggled, you had all these situations going on, get a book. My God, read a book to find out how you can have a normal, healthy relationship. Listen to people like me and other coaches who are going to lead you in the right direction and help you gain some accountability and responsibility so that you can live your maximum life and you can escape the clutches of systemic racism that has conditioned your mind to make you believe that this altruist crazy life that you are living is okay when it's not, when it's damaging. So what are proper tools? When I speak on helping your children so that they can understand that they don't need to be having sex early, they can value their life and their life plan over their need for intimacy at such a young age. Then you're talking about my book, so you think you want to have sex. Well, I help to guide you and guide your children into saying, hey, look, you don't really want to have sex. You got missing daddy syndrome. Because if there's one parent, only one parent in the home, children are more likely to try to seek attention, love, touch, feel, gain some type of confidence because they lack confidence. They're looking for a whole lot of stuff that they're not getting at home that one parent cannot give them. But why not help them understand that? Get the proper tools. Listen to this part. You need more than Jesus. You need family. You need a support system. Jesus had 12 disciples. When are we going to get it? You're not meant to be an island, people. You're going to need the help of a tribe. You're going to need your family. And you cannot be feeling no type of way. You cannot be feeling dumb, stupid, like I don't know nothing, like you don't need nobody. We got all these feelings wrapped around nothing that is a fact. Save your feelings for the funeral and for the weddings. That's when you need feelings. When a baby is born, when someone dies. We got feelings for stuff that we don't even need feelings for. We feeling stuff that's not even real. I don't feel like people love me. I don't feel like anyone cares. I don't feel like I'm worthy of love. I don't feel, you got all these feelings with no validity. Come on, elevate, 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 elevate your conscious mind. I hear you. I feel you pulling on me. Elevate your conscious mind. These are the areas where we got to elevate. Stop. You got to take control of your thoughts. You're going to hear 1,000 things a day. One of the things I notice is how criminals always talk about how they thought the day before they committed a crime, how they plotted and they plotted and they thought about it and they thought about it. That thought took over their actions, their behaviors. They acted it out and now they're suffering the consequences. You can apply the same thing. You can say to yourself and you can take authority over your life. I am good. I'm going to be a mother when it's the right time. I'm going to be a father when I'm in the right condition, when I'm married. I'm going to be a college graduate. This is my plan for the next 5 years of my life. And don't start that plan when you are 20. Start that plan when you are 12. Tools. We got to be working from the proper mindset. If you don't believe anything else, believe you can speak those things that are not as though they were, and you can develop a thought process in your life that will change your life forever. Therefore, you'll become a curse breaker. Therefore, you'll break this machine called systemic racism in your family. And you still have to go to work and fight for that promotion. You're still going to have to fight for that job opportunity. You're still going to have to fight for all of those things. But at least in your home, you got it straight. Breaking the curse with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, because we understand that white privilege and wealth depends on Black violence. And if we can't break these patterns in our home, my God, it's crazy that It's crazy that some of us are okay with cussing our children out and using that foul language, that being nice and saying kind words to our kids is foreign. You would rather say, hey, little ugly, hey, big head, than say, hey, son, you're beautiful. Hey, son, you're worthy. Hey, son, you're a prince. You'll be a king one day. Not in that ghetto fabulous way. You're gonna be a king one day. All the women gonna want you. That's garbage. So come from under this mental conditioning that has made you subject to be conditioned to walk in poverty and systemic racism to the people. Because when you die early and you leave kids behind, that creates the cycle. They don't have anyone to compete against them. They can keep writing in textbooks that we are less likely to graduate, more likely to be sick, unhealthy. All the things that they teach, all the studies they do, all point to us being down and not on their level. And I'm way to break that is with internal work on ourselves as a people. And we cannot do that without applying the blame on systemic racism and then pulling ourselves from under it on every level of violence, from language to music, trauma, all of those things we've got to pull out. Whew, this was heavy in my spirit today. It was heavy. Who am I? I'm Kathleen, your conscious coach. That's who I am. Thank you for watching this show on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Listen, this video was live on YouTube, so you can also go to my YouTube channel and watch the replay. Thank you for joining me on Facebook, Periscope, wherever you are. I'm Kathleen, your conscious coach. Thank you for joining me. You guys have a wonderful day. A wonderful day.